Well, the election's over. It's kind of as we expected. The East continues to dominate. The election's called before it gets to the West, and we're in for possibly 4 or more years, probably decades when you really think of the history of Canada, of treatment that favors the East at the expense of the West. The independence movement is going to blossom again. But you see, that's the thing we got to remember. Again, guys, we got to get it right. We can screw this up and we can set it back unless we approach the independence movement with planning, patience, rationality, and a plan. I know patience is hard right now and people are eager to go, but we got to do things one step at a time, and we have to do them right. There's only one path, whether it's Alberta or Saskatchewan, both legislatively and morally, to extract a province from the Federation, and that's through a referenda. I know some people talk about some of the other things, like this is one of the first things we can mess up with weird interpretations of the Constitution, or the Magna Carta, or how the West signed in, or whether Canada is a corporation. Listen, none of that matters. What has to happen is a majority of people in the provinces that want to go have to express it in a clear referendum that they want to get out. You start playing games and saying we can unilaterally declare things and everything else, all that does is give the government an excuse to stop the movement in its tracks, and it doesn't attract people. Plus the moral aspect. Look, if we don't have the majority of people wanting to go, then we don't deserve to go. We have to win that majority. And the referenda is the best way to do it. Not to mention the Clarity Act, which states pretty clearly we have a path to independence if there's a clear vote towards it in a provincial referendum. Now, the referendum, first things first. For one, we got to wait until we can win it. I mean, some recent polling has shown over 30% of Albertans and Saskatchewan citizens are ready to roll now that the Liberals are back in. But that's not nearly enough to win now, is it? So why on earth would you hold a referendum now? Because some people say, we got to go now, we got to hold this referendum now. Why hold it now if you're not going to win it? You're actually going to set things back. You're going to give them years more. It's going to take years longer to get another referendum if you go into one and lose. Quebec knows this. That's why they haven't held one since the 90s, even though they came within 1%. Then rest assured, there's many independent supporters in Quebec who want out, but they're not going to pull the pin on that until they're sure they win it next time. We aren't even close yet. We're as high as it gets. You can't dismiss it. When you've got over a third of citizens saying they've had it with the Federation, they want out, you can't dismiss that. And that's a huge seed to grow from, but you see, it has to be grown. The other thing, so where do you focus? Where do you put your efforts to make that grow and get us to the position where we can get out? For starters, we need the ability for citizens to initiate the referendum. Not the government, don't leave it in their hands. It has to be up to us. Alberta has what I would call fake citizens initiative legislation. It was brought in by the Kenney government, I believe, in 2022 to fulfill a promise. But they purposely made the bar impossible to attain. There's no way to be able to initiate a referendum in Alberta right now. A person needs to get it together, get it through Elections Alberta, get it started, then the clock starts ticking, and they need 600,000. It's like 580,000, but in reality, you'll need over 600,000 signatures on a petition to invoke the referendum. Now, if somebody looks at polling and says, well, geez, polling shows that there's that many people out there. Okay, well, go find them. You got 90 days to find that many people and have them sign an official petition. We're not talking about online petitions. We're not talking about something you just printed off. It has to be a particular official petition. That person has to sign with their home address and their phone number to make it valid. Look, there's a lot of people that are not eager on sharing their personal information like that. And think of the veritable army you need to get out there and get that many signatures in 90 days. It's not going to happen. Not even close. Anybody who thinks it's easy has never actually petitioned before on an official petition. So just look at the recent one where people tried to play by the rules with the Recall Act, which again, the same thing. They brought that in the same time as the referenda one in Alberta and set the bar impossibly high. In Calgary, they needed something like 400,000 signatures or 500,000 signatures to recall Mayor Jyoti Gondek. And Gondek, she's in the bottom of the polls. Most Calgarians can't stand her. They were ready for her to go. And a great movement of thousands of people got to work, hitting the ground, pounding the pavement to try and get a recall initiative going for Gondek. In the end of it all, they got 69,000 signatures. Not even close, even though they worked their butts off. So what do? Well, for starters, don't get into the independence parties, guys. And I'll give a little background. I founded the Alberta Independence Party and led it into an election against Ralph Klein, over 20 years ago. A little note of trivia and pride. I was the youngest party leader in Canada at the time, but he handed our ass to us. In fact, every independence party has its ass handed to it. In the last election, I think there were 4 or 5 little independence parties trying to run, and none of them could break 1%. You're pissing in the wind with those guys, and good people working hard behind those parties, but it's not getting us closer to the goal line. And no, you can't try to turn the UCP into an independence party either, because then you turn it into the same thing that's been failing all over, with independence movements as it is. What you need to do is get into the UCP, though, and get the legislation fixed so the power is in the hands of the citizens to initiate the referenda. Then Premier Smith, she's kind of said that already in a way. She's saying it's up to Albertans. I leave it to Albertans if there's going to be a referendum or not. Okay, fair enough. And then that way they don't have to take that strong stance one way or another, openly anyways. And I assure you, I know a lot of caucus members in the UCP. There are independent supporters in there. There's a lot of them. But you've got to get in and get the legislation fixed. You need the bar properly set so citizens can actually initiate a referenda, and a binding referenda. Make sure that word is in there. Don't let them put the weasel words into the legislation to make it useless as it sits currently. So you got to get out there, join your local UCP constituency association as a member, and push the board, push the MLA, push the aspiring MLAs and say, we need that legislation fixed. We need that in the hands of the citizens. That's step 1, guys. Step 1. And it's an important one, but it can be done relatively soon. The appetite is there. Get the legislation amended. Get it changed. There are many, many jurisdictions around the world, Switzerland, others, where they hold regular referenda because they've set it at an achievable level. And yes, you don't want it so low that it's frivolous. But you got to put it in the hands of the citizens. And that's step 1. Don't leap all the way ahead to saying we want the referendum next week. That's many steps away. Why is it many steps away? Well, the other part is, do we have a ground game? How many groups will initiate the referendum? What happens if 5 different groups try to initiate 5 different ones and they're working? There's part of the problem with the party system too when you're playing with independence parties, because then you're competing with each other rather than working together. You can have independence groups. The Alberta Prosperity Project is the largest and the best organized, and it's already on the ground running. So I suggest, again, supporting them. I mean, there's other aspects of what they're doing you may or may not like, but that's one of the groups moving. In fact, if you don't like that, form other groups, but as long as the goal is all working together towards getting that referenda. You see, the groups can come and go. They don't have to be at each other's throats. You could be a member of 5 independence groups. You can't functionally be a member of 5 different political parties. I mean, you can join 5, but you're not really going to be functionally acting within them. So get on the ground, get with these groups. Not only that, let's say we get the ability to hold a referendum. Let's say that the UCP has fixed the legislation, the bar has been set reasonably now for citizens to initiate it. And let's say you think, we're really confident we can get over that, and it shouldn't be 50% plus 1. We got to be looking at 55, 60% for something as serious as independence. That kind of support in a referenda. We're ready to go with it. Do you have the ground organization? You have to understand the amount of campaigning required. I mean, just because you think you have that support, if you run a terrible campaign, that support can change. We certainly saw how supports change in the federal election too. So you have to have organizers all across the province. You have to have campaigners. You have to have door knockers. It's just like any other kind of campaign. And we don't have that yet. Again, the APP is sort of building the groundwork for it. They're doing great. Other groups can do that. They can work in conjunction. They can work lockstep. But if we just go throwing spaghetti at the wall, just independence, we're going to rush, we're going to be disparate, we're going to be disorganized, then it's not going to work. And the federalists and the authoritarians are going to be happy. The other thing is the US 51 thing. Guys, put it on the back burner. Do not, again, one step at a time. If indeed that's the way Albertans, Saskatchewan citizens want to go, it will only happen after an independence referendum. And you try to have a referendum straight to the US 51 thing. I don't even think it's possible under any legislations, but you're dividing the movement because there's a heck of a lot of independent supporters, but they're Alberta first, they're Saskatchewan first. They want out of the Federation, but they don't want to leap into the United States, even if they love the USA and a lot of the policies and things like that. You're cutting the support in half of something that's already not enough, doesn't have enough support to win the independence vote. So, I mean, you can talk about US 51, but if you think you can leap straight to some sort of thing, negotiate straight with the United States, have President Trump march on in here and take Alberta or Saskatchewan as US 51, I tell you what, that's a pure failure and dividing your movement. So don't. Keep laser focused. Independence. Out of the broken federation that doesn't serve the West and will never serve the West. Keep your eyes on that prize. How do you get out of that? There's a lot of other things that have to be covered, a lot of policies. We're talking about the pension plan. We're talking about the RCMP. Same thing. Push for those things through the UCP. Don't try and do it through an independence party. You're not going to get there. But you've got to get the means of the independence vote into our hands, and you've got to improve the provincial government to the point where we can confidently say we'd be better off being independent. Right now, the provincial government's in a mess. They're fighting with healthcare scandals. The Alberta pension plan movement fell apart under their guidance. The movement to form a provincial police force has fallen apart. They're running around like chickens with their head cut off. Get in there and support them on the movements that bring us closer to independence, particularly the referendum one, but as well as those other ones in the Alberta agenda. Now's our opportunity. Albertans and Saskatchewan citizens are furious. They've had it. They've realized the futility of trying to change things on the federal front, and they're looking for the alternatives. But we've got to harness that discontent effectively and with a plan. Otherwise, it's going to fall apart. And we've got to watch for some of the self-serving or the weird or the different. We've got to keep it just on independence and not off on all the other things. I mean, I'm talking about, yes, Art Pawlowski, the crazy preacher from Calgary. I know he was victimized during the COVID period. I thought, and it was wrong. But it doesn't mean the man's fit to lead a movement or a party. And if you got that kook out in the front, I promise you the independence movement isn't going anywhere. You can certainly support the man, but don't put him in the front of don't make him the face of the independence movement or anybody like him. Plus, some of the people talking about an independent West, they're talking about a theocracy. They're talking about we want to make this Christian state and things like that. Hey, I understand that Christians feel embattled. I understand that Western Christian-based philosophy is what built the freedom-loving type of people we are. But we don't need that written into a new movement, guys. That can't be front and center. Protecting everybody's freedom so they can practice their religions and be left alone is what has to be important and what has to build this larger movement if you want to get over that line. So we got a lot of pitfalls, but either way, I just want to get back to, we're going to talk a lot about independence, I'm sure, in the next months and probably years to come here. It's going to grow, and we can do it, but we can really screw it up. And the first time we can screw it up is right now when we're getting out of the gates. So pick your battle. Right now, the battle is getting to the referendum, getting the ability to get to the referendum, and then moving from there, building that ground support to win that referendum, campaigning. So I'll finish this a little bit, yes, with a self-serving note in a way, but don't worry, I promise you, I don't make a heck of a lot out of books. But I've been at this for 20 some years, and that's why I did put, I see it's reversed on this, the Sovereigntist Handbook. I mean, this is an instructional book. This is a book talking about how to get to independence, not so much why. Michael Wagner wrote excellent books on the why, and there's some why in this book too. But it trains you to be the person who can build that support. This teaches how to operate within a political party. This teaches the basic talking points. How do you respond to somebody when they say, but you're landlocked? Yeah, I know. So Switzerland, how are they doing? Venezuela's got lots of coastline. How are they doing? lots of those discussions. It's in there. And along with it, the steps, the plan. So guys, it's time. The West wants out. But the West has to do it right, or we're just going to keep spinning our wheels. So, keep the anger burning, keep the discontent happening, but focus it into a plausible plan for independence, or we won't be getting anywhere. We got the chance, guys. We can do it. Let's do it carefully and let's do it right.